Jill.
Okay.
Hello and welcome to APH's Virtual ExCEL Academy. Today our camp is called Tending the Garden. This camp today is intended for symbolic learners, meaning those of you students who are using alternate forms of communication. Of course, everyone is welcome in our audience, but we wanted to make sure that everyone is aware that this camp is specifically designed for those learners who are at a symbolic learning stage. Again, welcome to APH Virtual ExCEL Academy. Today is day 2 of Tending the Garden. Welcome everyone. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our instructor today, Jill Andrus. Take it away, Jill.
Thank you. Well, I'm excited to be back today, and I'm excited to have all of you participating with us again today. And we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen so we can see what we're going to do today. Go back up a little bit. Okay, here we go. All right, we are doing Tending the Garden and it's day 2, and I'm excited that you're all back. So just some tips for our learners if you're there helping. Just remember to keep their workspace as clutter-free as possible so that they can really focus on what we want to work on. And then also, if you have their, remember to use your cues, auditory, tactile, or visual cues. And then also, if you have some tactile symbols that you're using with your students, please grab those right now. Or if you have real objects that you're using, you might want to grab those also. And then just a reminder that hand under hand presentation is the best practice. It just means you're gonna put your hand under their hand to invite them to participate with us. So again, these are the picture symbols that we're using and the schedule that we will be going through. First, we'll be saying hello, and our symbol is of a person waving hello. And then next we have a schedule, and that schedule will be, or a calendar, some people call it a calendar. And our symbol is a clock, and in front of the clock is a schedule or a calendar with a note on it that says the time that we're starting. And then we're going to do a stretch. And that symbol is of 2 hands stretching a piece of fabric or a rubber band, something that is stretchy, to tell us that we're going to be doing a stretch. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is say hello. There's our symbol waving hello. So we're all going to say hello, and I'm really excited that you're here today. I'll introduce myself again. My name is Jill Andrus, and I live in Idaho. And yesterday was rainy. Today is sunny, but it's still a little bit chilly. So I still have my sweater on. I am a teacher of the visually impaired. I have brown hair. I have blue eyes, and I have white skin. And I am ready to do some planting today. I'm really excited about it. So the next thing we're going to talk about is our schedule. We will have 3 parts to our lesson. We might play a game, and then we'll have a break. So that's our schedule for today. So now we're going to get ready to stretch. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that we can all stretch together. So what I would like you to do, we're going to get our bodies all ready to stretch. I'd like you to make sure your hips are sitting where you want them. Hit them, make sure that they're sitting in your seat nicely. And I want your feet planted firmly on the ground. We're going to plant our feet just like we're planting some plants today. We're going to plant them right on the floor. And then I want you to take your hands and I want you to reach out right in front of you. And I want you to stretch out in front as much as you can. If you can only stretch in front of you a little bit, that's okay. Do what you can. If you need a helper to help you, that's okay too. We're going to stretch out, and we're going to stretch for 10 seconds. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, that's good. We got a good start. Let's go up high. We're going to stretch up high, and we're going to count to 10 again. stretch. We're gonna stretch and count. I'm gonna wait a minute for everyone to get ready. And now we're gonna count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, we had a good stretch that way. Now we're going to get into another position. I want everyone to give themselves a good hug. And you might need help to get into this position, and that's okay. I'm going to wait for everyone just a minute. All right, we're going to count to 10 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Give yourself a good squeeze and stretch that back. Now we should be all ready to work. We're all ready to get going on our work today. So I am going to share our screen again, just for a minute, so you can see what we're going to work on next. And I'm sharing our screen. So we just did our stretch. And what is next? Oh, my screen's not moving. Hang on. I'm going to have to stop sharing just for a minute and try that again. Okay, so we did our stretch. And it's still not working. That's okay. We'll just keep moving on. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to talk about planting and a garden again today. Yesterday, we talked about plants and the parts of a plant. And we looked at a plant, a radish plant. And today we're going to talk about the garden again. We talked about a garden for a minute yesterday, and we said a garden is a collection of, it could be living things, or it could even be rocks. So we could do a garden of flowers, or we could do a garden of vegetables. We could even do a garden of strawberries. If you love strawberries, you could make a whole garden of strawberries. So we're going to talk about gardens today. Why should we grow a garden? That's our first thing. I want you all to think about that for a minute. Why should we grow a garden? I want you to think to yourself, what would be some good reason why you would want to grow a garden? So we're going to think about that for a minute. And while you're thinking about that, I am going to put something under my other camera so you can see a plant. So I have a plant over here that I pulled out of my garden this morning. And it has all the things that we talked about yesterday. It has you can't see roots because it's covered in dirt. It has roots that are covered in dirt, and there's a stem, and
Jill, we're having a difficult time hearing you at the moment. I think it might be stepped away from your computer.
whoa, okay, I'll lean down a little bit more.
There you go.
Okay, so we have our roots that's under all that dirt that you can see, and then we have our stem, and then we have our leaves. And this happens to be a tomato plant that I pulled out of my garden this morning. Don't worry, I'll put it back later so it can keep growing. But this is a tomato plant, and we planted it from a seed, and now it's growing and pretty soon, within a month or a couple months, it will be a big tomato plant. This one little tomato plant is going to make us about 10 pounds of tomatoes. So I want to show you a seed. We bought a package of seeds at the store. And in that package were many, many seeds. They're very, very tiny. They're like the size of, well, a tomato seed. If you ever eat a tomato, there'll be a seed in there. There were seeds in tomatoes. It's a little tiny seed. And we planted that seed. And we got this little tiny tomato plant growing. And we bought our package of seeds for about $3. So $3, we got many seeds, and we're planting many tomato plants. And we are going to get about 10 pounds of tomatoes for this one plant. So I will say that one reason we like to plant a garden is because it saves our family lots and lots of money. We are able to plant many tomato plants and get many tomatoes. From this one plant, we'll get many tomatoes. And that saves us lots of money going to the store and buying tomatoes. We can grow our own tomatoes at our house. So that's one reason why it's really great to plant tomatoes. So we had someone in our chat said that one good reason to plant a garden is because that way we can pick our own food if we are low on shopping. And that is another good reason. So if you don't have any tomato, if you want tomatoes and you don't want to go to the store, you can go out to your garden and you can pick a beautiful, juicy tomato just right from your back porch. We like to plant tomatoes and onions and peppers on our back porch. And we call that our salsa garden because we can go out and pick those things to make salsa. So there is our tomato plant. And we're actually going to plant this a little bit later. So that's one reason it saves us money. And we don't have to go to the grocery store as often. Another reason that it's great to plant a garden is fresh tomatoes from your garden. Oh, they taste so good. I will say this, I think they taste better than the ones you get in the store. I think fresh tomatoes are so delicious, and fresh fruits are so delicious. So that's another reason it's really fun to plant your own vegetables and your own fruit, because then you get fresh food whenever you want it. And another thing you can do is you can freeze some of your food and you can eat it all winter long. So the things that you plant, you can save in the freezer, or you can learn how to save it in a bottle. And then you can save that you can eat those things all winter long. And that's so fun to have fresh food all winter long that you've grew in your own garden. So another reason why it is a great idea to plant a garden is because being outside is good for us. Being outside and watching something grow is very good for us. It gets us out in the sun. It gets us in the air. We talked about those things that plants need to grow. We need those same things. So it's great to go outside and plant a little tiny seed. I have a little tiny seed on the end of my finger. It's very hard to see, but I can feel it. It's hard. And they have taken a tomato seed and they have dried it, and it's hard. So it feels like a hard little bump in my fingers. And they dried that little tomato seed so that I could plant it later. So I can plant that little seed and I can grow some fresh vegetables for myself. And I can do that outside in the sun and the fresh air, which makes me feel better. And also, if you've ever weeded a garden, so you might plant all these beautiful vegetables and weeds. They're the things that we don't want in our garden. They pop up and we have to go out and we have to pull those out so that our vegetables have plenty of space to grow. So we definitely have to get rid of weeds. And bending over and weeding your garden is very good exercise. So that's another reason why planting a garden is a great idea. It is great exercise for us. And also, I think that it is so much fun to watch a plant grow. I think it is so much fun to plant a seed and take care of it, give it water, make sure it has nutrients, all those things we talked about yesterday. It is so fun to watch this little tiny seed grow into a plant. And this little plant, I will go plant it back in the garden later, and it will just get bigger and bigger and bigger. And sometimes it will be taller than a 3-year-old. That's how tall they can get. They can get very tall. And it's fun to go out and see all of the things that you planted all by yourself or with some help. So that is some of the reasons why we plant a garden. So I want you to think if there is some things that you would want to plant. I want you to think in your head, if I were to plant a garden, what would I want to plant? Think about vegetables. We talked about some vegetables yesterday. We talked about broccoli and carrots and celery and lettuce. Think about all of those things that you like to eat, or that you like to see, or that you like to feel, and think about how you could plant those and grow them in your very own garden. So I want you to think for a minute about, what would I plant if I could pick one thing that was my favorite thing to plant? What would I plant? It might even be some flowers, because we can always plant flowers and watch those grow. So let's see. I am going to share my screen again. Gonna hope that this is working this time. I'm gonna share my screen. Oh, it's not. I might have to see if Miss Robin can help us out.
I am right here in the background. Is your screen not progressing?
It's not.
All right, no worries. This is what you're going to do. You're going to exit your full screen, go to the slide you want, and click slideshow from the slide you want to be on. And what we're going to do right now is pause our recording.
Thank you. So glad that I've Miss Robin in the background. We all need helpers, and I really appreciate having helpers sometimes. Okay, so we talked about what would we want to plant in a garden. And can I share with you what I planted in my garden? I love planting a garden. We plant one every year, and we like to plant, I told you about our salsa garden, but we also like to plant pumpkins, because I love fall and I love Halloween, and I love having lots of different kinds of pumpkins to plant and put on my front porch and to make into jack-o'-lanterns. So we love planting pumpkins. That's one of the things that I think is one of my favorite things to plant. And we do like planting zucchini, although we have lots of neighbors that plant zucchini and they like to share with us. And then we have mountains of zucchini at our house. So we make lots of things with zucchini when all of the zucchini is ready to be picked. So some of you might have had some zucchini bread, or you might have had some zucchini that has been fried up in some butter. That's really yummy. There's lots of ways to cook all the vegetables that we grow in our garden. That's one of the fun things that you can do when you plant a garden. You can try lots of different things when you're planting vegetables. So we are going to talk about, we talked a little bit about what would you want to plant in the garden, but now we need to think for a minute, like, what should you plant in a garden? So maybe there are some things that would be very important to plant in a garden, or maybe these are some good ideas. So the number one thing that you need to think about when you are thinking about planting a garden is you should plant the things that you and your family like to eat. You're growing this garden so that you have things to eat. So if you plant things you like to eat, you are going to love your garden. So that's a really important thing to be able to do, is to plant things that you know you will love to eat. If your whole family loves tomatoes, it's probably a good idea to plant many tomato plants. If you only have one person in your family that likes onions, maybe you should only plant one onion plant. So think about, I want you to think for a minute about what do the people in my family or in my house, what do they like to eat? What kind of fruits and vegetables do they like? I want you to think about that for a minute, because we all like different things, and that's okay, because that makes us all who we are. But I think I have one daughter that does not like carrots, but her twin sister loves carrots. So of course we plant carrots for one sister, and the other sister says, no thanks, I don't really like carrots. And that's okay. So think about for a minute, what does your family, what do they like to eat? What kind of vegetables and fruit do they like to eat? So think about that just for a minute. So I'm going to look at the chat just for a minute. It says Caleb is going to plant tomatoes and eggplant. I have never planted eggplant before. Oh, I can't wait. I think that will be exciting. So that's one thing I've never planted at my house. I should try that. Let's see. Natalie has green beans growing in her garden bed, and she wants to grow blueberries and pumpkins and watermelon and tomatoes. Ooh, that's going to be a really good garden. I can tell. That's really nice. And then let's see. Oh, Layla, she said that her family enjoys strawberries and blueberries. Oh, and Princess Elle, she says she likes potatoes. We like potatoes. We do grow potatoes. Mila says her family loves pineapple, avocado, and blueberries. Those are all good things. I have never tried planting blueberries, but that would be another one, a fun one to try. So we have so many things that our families like. So we need to be thinking, if I go to buy some seeds or some plants, I'm going to pick things that my family likes to eat. The next thing we want to think about is how many people live in your house. So why would that be important? Why do you need to know how many people live in your house when you're planting a garden? I have lots of people in my house. I have 6 people in my house. And we have lots of people that come and visit us. So lots of people are eating at our house. So we like to plant a big garden because there's lots of people at our house. If you have a small number of people in your house, maybe you would plant a smaller garden. And also, you have to think about gardens take a lot of work, and you need to have people that can go out and help you dig up the weeds and water, make sure your gardens have everything they need. And so if you have a big garden and there's only 3 of you in your house, that might be a lot of work for 3 people. So you need to be thinking, how many people live in my house that will be eating from our garden? And how many people like these vegetables? So those are some things you're going to think about when you're deciding what to plant in your garden. Oh, I've got lots of things in the chat, but I want you to keep thinking. Let's see, Layla has to plant a garden for a family of 8. That's how many I had too. Before I have 2 kids that have grown and moved out. That's how many we had. We had a big garden. Angelica wants to plant broccoli. Oh, that's a good one too. Broccoli is good. That's one of our favorites at our house. So that's good. I like that you're all thinking about how many people would be eating in your house, because that is very important. You need to be thinking. Mila says there are 4 people in her family to plant for. So I like this. I like that you're all thinking, how big does my garden need to be? And what do they like to eat? These are good things to be thinking about. Princess Eleanor says she has 2 people. So that might be a smaller garden. And that's okay, because you want to plant enough to feed 2 people. So that's great. So I like this. You guys are doing some really good thinking, and I like that. All right, let's see. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a break. Oh, my thing is still not working again. We're going to take a break, and I will figure out my screen again. So let's take a break, and we're going to, while you're on your break, I want you to be thinking about what kinds of things am I going to plant in my garden? And be thinking, how big of a garden do I really need? And then in our next activity, we're going to be thinking some other things about important things for our garden. So we have so many things that we can be thinking about during our break. All right, I'm going to put up our timer. We're going to take a 3-minute break. So I'm going to share my screen. And you guys can think about your garden. I like that you guys are going to all be coming up with ideas for your garden. Okay, we're going to start some music. And our timer. We'll see you in 3 minutes. Okay, welcome back. We did our nice 3 minutes. And now, oops. Oh, hang on. We don't want to do a 3-minute break again. And we're going to turn our music off. Okay. Next, we have done the first half of our lesson. We've done 2 lessons already, and we've taken a break. And now we're going to stretch again. It's time to get our bodies moving. We've been sitting for a little while now. Let's see if we can get our bodies ready to learn again. And this time, I'm going to stop sharing. First of all, I'm going to tell you the next things we're going to do. We're going to first take a nice stretch. Then we're going to have one more lesson. And then we'll be all done until tomorrow. So right now, we're going to go ahead and take a stretch. So I'm going to stop sharing for a minute so we can all stretch together. Okay, here we go. Let's do, I would like everyone to put your hands out to the front and point your fingers. And we're going to do 10 little circles. See if you can see how far you can get your arms out. If you can't get it out very far, that's okay. We're just going to see what we can do with 10 little circles. We're going to put our hands out and start doing some little circles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And a good stretch. Oh, okay. Now we're going to do the same thing up to the sky, up where the sun is that helps our plants. So stretch up high. You can't see my hands. I'm going to lower a little bit so you can see my circles. I'm going to give you all a minute to get ready. Stretch as high as you can. If you have a helper, have them help you stretch a little bit. Make sure your hips are where they need to be, good and planted in your seat. Make sure your feet are on the floor. All right, we're going to do 10 little circles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, now we're going to do out to the sides. We're going to go way out to the sides out here, to the left and to the right. And we're going to do 10 circles. We're going to wait a minute for everyone to get ready. All right, here we go. 10 little circles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, do we all feel a little stretched out? We're ready to work a little bit more? All right, we are ready. So we're going to move on to our next lesson. So we have already talked about why we should plant a garden. We've talked about what should we plant in our garden. And now we need to talk about what are some other things we need to be thinking about when we're growing a garden. And then we're also going to look at some tools we use when we plant a garden. So one of the things, I know someone in the chat said they were planting, let me see if I can find it. This was going to be a very big garden. Let's see. Here's one that said they wanted to plant cucumbers and peppers, corn, peas, apples, strawberries, and raspberries. Those are a lot of really good things to plant in a garden. So I want you to think back to yesterday, and we talked about some things that plants are going to need when you plant them. We talked about 5 things they're going to need. Let's see if we can all think and remember. And we spelled the word lawns, like the lawn on your front lawn, like the grass on your front lawn. We spelled the word lawns with all those things we needed to remember. So I'll go over them and we'll all remember them together. So the first thing we needed was light. So our our garden needs to have sunlight. So you need to be thinking in your yard, where would be the best place to put a garden? Because my garden is going to need sunlight. Sometimes our gardens are in a shadow and they would be too cold for some of our vegetables. So we need to make sure that we have good sunlight in our garden. The other thing they need is air. So that we got to make sure that they're in a good place where they're going to get good fresh air. And then the next thing is water. We definitely need to make sure that our hoses can reach our garden so we can water our garden. That will help us figure out, where are we going to put this garden? The next thing that it needs is nutrients. So we need to look at our garden area and say, does this look like it needs more nutrients for our plants? And sometimes you have to go to the store and you have to buy some nutrients to mix in with the soil in your backyard or wherever your garden is. You have to mix it in and make it good and nutritious for your plants. So, and then the last thing that you have to think about is space. Our gardens need space to grow and get big. So some of you that are planting pumpkins and zucchini and corn, they need lots of space to grow. So maybe you will have to put some of your plants in one area and some of your plants in another area so that they have space to grow. So those are really important things. So be thinking as you're preparing your garden area, does my garden get enough sunlight? Is it getting some fresh air over here? Is it close to where we can water? Is it going to have enough nutrients, or will we need to add some nutrients in? And does it have enough space to expand and grow and get as big as it needs to get? So be thinking about that. So those are some things we need to think about. How are you going to water your garden? And is it going to get enough sun? All these things you have to think about when you're planting a garden. So the next thing I want to talk about is I brought some tools that we use in the garden. And these are all hand tools because I have some of my vegetables are being grown in big pots. And then some of my vegetables are in the ground. And so I needed some different tools for where I'm working. So I'm going to show you the tools I have for my pots, my plant. So the first thing, I'm going to put my camera on here, see if you guys can see this. This is called a hand rake. There we go. This is a hand rake. So you'll see that it has a handle that's really easy for me to grip. Got a nice handle. It's got rubber on the
Teacher
end.
Jill, this is Robin.
Yes.
You have to keep looking at your microphone. We did not hear the last thing that you shared.
Oh,
please
okay.
repeat.
That's good to know. I'm glad you told me. Okay, I just moved a little bit away from my microphone. Okay, so here is a hand rake. This is one of the things that I use in my garden. So right now it has some little caps on the end. It has 3 prongs, kind of like a fork. And right now it has some caps on the ends because the ends of this fork is very sharp. And it can dig into your dirt and break up all the little clumps of dirt that maybe you don't want to break up with your hands. So I have these little caps on the end of the pointy part so that we don't get poked with it. But it's got a nice grippy handle so I can get a good grip and I can go ahead and dig in my dirt and break up all the little clumps. And also if there's any little weeds in my garden, this will help me get those little weeds out. So it's got a nice handle and it's got 3 prongs that have very sharp ends so that I can dig in the dirt, get my dirt all ready for planting, or dig up any weeds around my plants. The next thing I have, this is called a trowel, and it looks like a little shovel, a little tiny shovel for digging. It also has a very nice handle that I can hold and grip really well. And then it has a flat shovel, kind of like a spoon. And it's got an angle to it, so it's pointy on the end, so that I can dig into the dirt and I can plant my flowers with this. It can also help me dig into things, and it can help me figure out how tall my plants are getting. I can't think of what you would call this. On the shovel part of my trowel, there's actually some little measurement marks, and I can feel them with my finger, and that will help me measure how tall my plants are. So if I look at this little radish plant, I could tell, if I stuck it in the dirt, I could tell how tall my radish is getting with my trowel. So this does many things for me when I'm working in the garden. So that's a trowel. The next thing I got, these are called pruning shears. And that's just a fancy way to say garden scissors, is what I think. They're very sharp, and these are something that your mom or your dad or a person that would be helping you could use in the garden. And they are good for trimming small branches or cutting back plants that maybe are getting a little bit too tall. That's what these are for. So these are an important tool that I use in my garden also. They also have nice handles that I can hold on to. And they are like scissors, that they have two pieces that come together to cut. So they are a little bit like scissors, but they're for cutting things that are bigger than paper. So they're for cutting stems and for small branches. So that's another tool I use. And then this is another thing that I use in the garden. This is a gardening glove. So it's like a glove that we wear at winter time, but it has, if I turn it over, it's got very, it kind of has it's kind of sticky on one side and very rubbery on one side. And it helps me get a good grip when I'm pulling out weeds. And also, I'm going to put it on my hand so you can see it fits my hand really nicely. And what I love about it is maybe you're like me and don't like getting all of that dirt.
Miss Jill, we lost the audio again.
Oh, you did? I don't.
Yeah, it's very
Okay.
sensitive when you lean away, I guess.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes,
Okay. So this is a gardening glove. I have to move my camera a little closer. This is a gardening glove, and I use these out in the garden when I am digging in it, because maybe you're like me and maybe you don't want to get your hands really, really dirty, but you might wear a gardening glove. Or if you don't mind getting your hands dirty, you don't need to wear gardening gloves. You can just go dig in the dirt and in the soil and plant your flowers or your vegetables or your fruit. So these are nice gardening gloves that I like to use in my garden to keep my hands clean when I'm gardening. And they make these in lots of sizes. They even make these for little kids. So you can find gardening gloves that will fit you to wear in your garden. All right, one last thing we're going to do is we are going to plant our tomato plant. So I have a bucket of soil and mulch. And mulch is just nutrients that help grow. And I have it in a bucket so that I could start planting something. And this has some little twigs in it and some dirt in it and little pieces of wood. It has all kinds of good things in it for my plants. And they like to grow in this healthy, nutritious environment. So I am going to plant our little tomato plant back into this dirt. I'm going to use this trowel and I'm going to make a nice little hole. I'm going to make a nice hole and then I'm going to put my tomato plant in. And then I'm going to pat it. And I just like to use my hands to pat it down and make sure that it's standing up the way I need it to. And that is how I like to plant my plants. I also have a radish that I will show you how I can plant. So this is one of those radishes, like the one I showed you yesterday that I pulled out of my garden. And the bottom has roots that are coming out of the radish. And it's ready to get planted into some soil, into some nutrients. So again, it's down a little. I take my trowel and I make a little hole. And I want to make sure my roots get down in that hole. And then I use my hands and I pat it back down. And there is my radish all ready to keep growing. So we've got our little tomato plant. And here's our little tomato plant. And we have our little radish plant. And they're both ready to have some water and be put outside to get sun and some air. And they're in some nutrients. So that part is good. They're ready to be outside. And they will stay in here because this radish plant can stay in here as long as it needs. My tomato plant's going to get very big. So when it gets bigger, I will actually have to move that plant into a different pot because it will get too big for this pot. And I want it to have time and space to grow and grow and grow. So that is how I like to plant my garden. And I hope that you all get a chance to plant a garden with your family. I think that it's such a fun activity for your whole family to do. So let's see. I'm going to check our chat really quick, see if I missed anything. Oh, I like that everyone's remembering the 5 things we learned yesterday about what a plant needs. That makes me happy. You guys are thinking, and I like that. Okay, so I want to talk for a minute. Tonight, you guys have an extension activity to do with your family. And you're actually going to take the kit that you were sent home. And I want you to make like a fence, a perimeter around your garden. And then you can put some of the shapes inside your garden and some of the shapes outside your garden. So you can think about which shapes you want to put in your garden and which ones are going to sit on the outside of your garden. So that will be your activity that you can do tonight at home. All right, I think we are all done and we are going to sign off and we'll see you all tomorrow.
All right, thank you, Ms. Jill, and thank you for everyone for joining us today for our Tending the Garden camp for our Symbolic learners. And we look forward to seeing everyone tomorrow afternoon, same time. Thank you, everyone. Have a great afternoon.